this is an unscheduled live broadcast, but for those of you who may have joined me last Thursday expecting to get the full dose of D.O.S.E, we were sadly interrupted by Murphy taking up residence and losing signal. I was on holiday in the lovely Western Cape at the time and in Gordons Bay, and unfortunately the signal there wasn't that great. So I decided that I would see out the rest of my holiday and in true holiday mode come back on the first working day of my week and catch up on this video. So today we're going to be looking at 4 aspects of a good story that will get your potential clients' attention, engage their emotions, and most of all, make you stick out in their minds, all of which we know are the components of a successful brand. In the introduction to this video, I've put a link to my free ebook, 5 Insider Secrets to Marketing Your Coaching Practice Without Spending a Cent. So if you haven't already downloaded it, do click and download it and enjoy it. It's got 5 really, really practical tips that you can implement immediately without having an advanced degree in computer science or social media. For those of you who don't know me and are joining me for the first time, my name is Megan Hudson. I'm a marketing and business coach, and I specialize in helping coaches find and define your niche and market your practice without spending a cent. So this is just a series of videos that I am doing to give you a little bit of insight into the thinking behind the way that I work with my clients. Why would we want to use stories in our marketing? Well, as I said a little bit earlier, the 3 criteria of a successful brand are getting the attention of your clients, engaging their emotions, and ensuring that we are memorable. We use what we want to refer to as functional storytelling to bring our brands to life, to give our professional brands more personality, warmth, and likability, and to make them more sort of 3-dimensional. Stories, functional storytelling or using functional stories is using stories to illustrate a business principle, and they do that far more powerfully than just putting the information across. So the best stories we know will release a couple of neurotransmitters in our clients' minds, those being dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, or D.O.S.E for short. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story to show you how. And this story is really, really appropriate for this time of the year. It's just been Valentine's Day, and I'm about to tell you a crazy love story. So we all know that the way that knowledge has been passed down over the centuries is through storytelling. And we all love a good story. It doesn't matter how young or old we are. So let me get on with today's love story. In May 1998, I was still single, and I took myself off camping in the bush for a long weekend to a small game reserve in northern KwaZulu-Natal. I'd been there a number of times with friends, and I really knew the reserve well, and I'd gotten to know the game ranger, the head game ranger over the years. And I phoned him and asked him if he thought I would be okay as a single woman camping in his reserve. So it's not as kind of bad or isolated as it may sound. The campsites were all separated from each other by really high grass. It wasn't a fenced off campsite, which meant that at night the animals would actually come into the campsite and graze after everybody'd settled down and gone to bed. But you did have a certain amount of privacy because of this tall grass that separated you from whoever was in the campsite next door to you, and you certainly couldn't see or peer into the neighboring campsites. often when I was camping there, I would wake up during the night with this kind of bump on my head from an animal that had just brushed past me while it was busy grazing, and I'd be able to hear it pulling up the grass next to the outside of my tent. And there were many occasions when I looked out of the little window in my tent to see a white rhino. Yeah, quite scary to be up close and personal with something that big, or a giraffe. There were ostriches, a lot of different buck, but really just being able to quietly look out of my window in the middle of the night and listen to this animal chomping away next to me. It was just the most fantastic experience. But anyway, the story that I'm about to tell you is completely true. And it's possible that as you've just listened to me describing a white rhino bump me awake in the middle of the night, that you might have experienced a little bit of a rush of dopamine, which happens naturally whenever you listen to a cliffhanger or something that's a little bit thrilling or exciting. But I'm sure that the sound of that experience really got your attention. Dopamine is also important when we are dealing with our clients, because what happens is our clients, dopamine is our reward neurotransmitter. It's the neurotransmitter that is released when our behavior is rewarded. So in other words, say a client has got a problem and they are looking for an answer online, and the search engine brings them to your website, and somewhere in amongst your blog posts, they see they get the answer to whatever their problem is. They're going to get a rush of dopamine. And what that means is there's a really good chance that they might make a note of or bookmark your website and come back to it on a regular basis, because you have just rewarded their search behavior. So it's really important that to get repeat behavior, we reward our clients on a regular basis. And this is another reason why we want to continually be giving away valuable information. But anyway, my love story doesn't end there. On this particular weekend that I was in the bush, this big crowd pulled in from a local ashram in Pietermaritzburg, and they'd booked the central campsite, and in there came with all of their caravans and tents, and they set up quite a large camp. It was really an amazing crowd. But what had happened was, on their arrival, one of the members of their group had caught the attention of an unwanted lover, and he would have to spend the rest of his weekend hopping from caravan to car just to get away from this undesirable attention. What had happened was he'd attracted the attention of an ostrich during mating season. Now, when we talk about red hot love, it really counts. It really is appropriate when we have an ostrich during mating season, because their beaks and heels, a male ostrich, they actually turn red. Can you believe it? So this guy was red hot with desire, and he was just burning up with the fire of love for this poor camper. This chap couldn't even get to the ablution blocks without having to be driven all the way there, in the car driven like right up to the entrance to the ablution block, so he could zoot from the car into the ablution block, go to the loo, or do whatever other business. This ostrich was hot on his heels. And that's no joking matter, because ostriches, can you believe it, in a single stride can cover anything up to 5 meters. So you've really got to be moving fast to get away from the amorous attentions of an ostrich. And of course, if this has got you smiling and laughing just at the picture, what has now happened is that endorphins have been, or the feel-good hormones have been released into your system. So you're probably, hopefully, feeling relaxed and really starting to enjoy our love story. Anyway, our friend just didn't stand a chance this weekend. An ostrich's eye, lots of like little fun facts about ostriches today. An ostrich's eye is about 5 centimeters in diameter, and they can see anything up to 10 kilometers away. So it doesn't matter where he was. This ostrich could see him coming for miles. In fact, an ostrich's eye weighs approximately 60 grams, which is 20 grams more than what its little pea brain weighs. So if you have attracted the attention of an ostrich, it's single-minded, it is focused in more ways than one. Obviously, for all of us onlookers in the campsite, we thought this was screamingly funny, and we just really felt sorry for this chap. I mean, at night when they had their, sat around the campfire in the evening having their braai, they'd have to make space and pull a car right up to the campfire and down, let the window down a little bit, so just so that this poor chap could take part in all of the activities. And of course, they couldn't let the window down too far because this ostrich could get its head in as quick as a trick. It was just the funniest thing in the whole wide world for us who were watching it and observing this. So if you're starting to feel a little bit of sympathy, I mean, it was a long weekend. This poor oak, he was confined to either a car or a caravan and running in between. It was in May in KwaZulu-Natal, so it was quite warm by most people's standards. And if you're starting to feel a little bit of sympathy, it's possible that a level of oxytocin has now been released as a neurotransmitter if you're feeling empathy or emotion. And it's also possible, if you've been camping, that you would feel some kind of a social bond and understand that the one thing that you really do want when you are camping is the absolute freedom to be able to just sit out in the campsite under the sun, enjoy yourself, instead of being confined to a car or a caravan. So again, if you feel this common bond or the social experience, what's happened now is that serotonin has been released in your system. So while this story demonstrates the principle of functional storytelling, it's also possibly become quite memorable, attention-getting, and emotionally engaging for you. You're certainly going to understand the principle of releasing dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins when you are trying to get a business principle across or tell a story. And I'm quite sure that you would be able to more or less repeat most of this story if you want to share it with somebody else. Hopefully you'll just point them in the direction of my video. Serotonin is also really, really important to be released when we are learning, because it helps us to learn new things and to retain it in our memories. So by using stories in this way to release dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, we're generating different feelings, which neuroscience tells us are the brain's shorthand for how we encode information and create new networks of associations and pathways in our brains. And I bet that by recalling this true story that I've told, you'll be able to easily remember the principal elements of functional storytelling and how it is that we need to get our information across to make it memorable and to really, really stick. Now, I want you to revisit your own brand story. So this is the story that you're telling your clients about your coaching brand, who you are and how you work. And I want you to ask yourself if at various points during your brand story, that's the About Me section on your website, if you are helping your clients to release these neurotransmitters. So if you are engaging with them, eliciting empathy, emotion, if you are getting them to smile, laugh, feel as though they have something in common with you. So that's your homework coming out of this video. I don't think there've been any questions as I've gone. Don't forget that you can download my free ebook in the link to in the introductory link to this video. But let me just recap what it is that you need in order to tell a memorable and engaging story. You want a cliffhanger, so something that builds up to a level of suspense to release dopamine. You need to create a social bond and empathy with the central character. In the case of your brand story, it's going to be yourself. You want to make your personal situation more relatable for your audience so that you release oxytocin and they bond with you. You need to inject some humor or lightheartedness into the story, if at all possible, so that you get your clients, your potential clients, to release some endorphins and feel good about meeting you on whether it's online or in person. And finally, you want to release serotonin by creating social bonds. And one of the best ways that you can do this is through using things like social proof, testimonials for other clients, telling stories of your experiences with other clients. Anyway, I hope that you've learned plenty from this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me. And if you join me for the second time, my second go at this video to get the full thing, I hope that you really, really enjoyed it. Thank you. And I will see you again, as usual, on Thursday this week at 4 p.m. for my next round of storytelling. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.